Hello everybody, we've got a new archetype to talk about which came out this morning, and in this video I'm going to show off what all the cards do, and I'm going to show you 3 1.5 card combos which allow you to Calamity Lock your opponents. Whether this card will be legal when these cards come out, I'm not entirely sure. I really hope not. But the fact this deck does it so consistently is worth showing off. So that's what we're going to do in today's video. We're going to start off by talking about the cards themselves. So we've got 3 main deck monsters, 2 spells, 2 traps, and an extra deck monster. And the idea of the deck is that the monsters all put themselves in the continuous spell and trap zone as continuous traps and can special summon themselves during the main phase. And the field spell allows you to quick synchro. That's kind of the idea of the deck. So we're going to get into the list. So we're playing 3 copies of Centurion Primera. This card is a level 4 spellcaster light tuner with 1600 attack and 1600 defense. This means it is searchable off of all of the cards that search the Ecclesia cards. I can't remember how many there are. I know the Despian Synchro can summon them from deck. And you also have access to the branded card that nobody plays. I can't remember its name, but when it's banished, you get to summon one from deck or something. But Centurion Primera has 3 effects. The first effect is if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Centurion card from your deck to the hand, except for another copy of himself, and then you cannot summon Centurion Primera for the rest of the turn. You don't need to, because you've already summoned it. The second effect is your level 5 or higher Centurion monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects while this card is treated as a continuous trap, which is quite cool. And during the main phase, while this card is treated as a continuous trap, you can special summon it, which is really strong. So this accesses the entirety of the deck, and when it's in the trap zone, you can special summon it, and it's kind of got a protection effect when it's in the spawn trap zone. Anyway, we have Centurion Trudea. This is a level 4 Dark Pyro with 1000 attack and 2000 defense. Has 2 effects. During your main phase, you can place this card you control and 1 Centurion monster from your hand or deck, except for another copy of himself, in the spell and trap zone as continuous traps, and you can't summon Trudea for the rest of the turn. And during the main phase, while this card is treated as a continuous trap, you can special summon it, and then you can increase its level by 4. So this modulates its level to an 8, which means with the Primera, we can make level 12 synchros, or you can keep it as a level 4 to be able to go into level 8 synchros, which is really, really cool. The last main deck monster, which you're probably not playing 3 of, but he's still pretty cool, has 2 effects. His name is Centurion Emmet 6. He's a level 8 Earth machine with 2000 attack and 3000 defense. Only use the first and second effect once per turn. During your opponent's turn, if this card is in your hand or graveyard, quick effect, you can target one Centurion monster you control, except for another copy of himself, place it face up in the spell and trap zone as a continuous trap, and if you do, special summon this card. This card's cool because you can use it to dodge cards like Imperm. So your opponent, say your opponent goes, I'll Imperm the Primera to stop your search, you can go, nah, I'm going to put it in the spell and trap zone, dodge that Imperm, and I'm going to special summon this card out, which is really, really cool. You also do it from the graveyard, so you can do it in grind games as well. The second effect is during the main phase, if this card is treated as a continuous trap, you can special summon it. So you can see they all have that same effect when they can special summon themselves from the spell and trap zone. Going on to the spells, we have Faith of Centurion. This is a quick play spell. You can only use the first and second effect once per turn. Place 1 Centurion monster from your hand or graveyard face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous trap. That's really cool. Obviously, it's kind of like a monster reborn because you can grab a monster from the graveyards and then you can just special summon it by its own effect. And you can also just special summon a guy from hand if your normal has been interacted with, for example. The second effect is if a Centurion Synchro monster is special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, then target a Centurion monster in your graveyard, place it face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous trap. Yeah, so another Monster Reborn effect while it is in the graveyard by banishing it, which is going to be fantastic for grind game scenarios. And yeah, this is really, really cool. The field spell is ridiculous. So you can only use the second and third effect of this card's name once per turn. It cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while you control a Centurion monster cards. This protects you from stuff like Runic cards. It stops it being destroyed by Ghost Ogre and all that sort of stuff, which is really cool. The second effect is during your main phase, if this card was activated this turn, you can send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard as cost, place 1 Centurion monster from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous trap. So this essentially just summons from deck because you place it in the spell and trap zone and then you get to special summon it from the spell and trap zone. And the fact that these cards place in the spell and trap zone is kind of ridiculous because it just plays around Ash so well. Like the only thing you can Ash so far is Primera, because Trudea puts in the spell and trap zone, Emmet places in the spell and trap zone, this places in the spell and trap zone, and the field spell places up in the spell and trap zone. So you're playing around Ash really well in this deck while still being able to access cards from your deck. Yeah, so you place one in your spell and trap zone, and then you just get to special summon it by its own effect, which is cool. The third effect, if I can get the text to come up here, is if a monster is special summoned, you can immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon using monsters you control, including a Centurion monster. So this is a trigger effect, so you can do this in both your turn and your opponent's turn, and since these monsters are continuous traps, that means you can do them during either main phase at spell speed 2, which just means you can trigger this on your turn, your opponent's turn, and that's going to allow us to make King Calamities really easily. We've got 2 trap cards. We've got the True Centurion, which is a counter trap card. You can only activate 1 card with this name once per turn. When a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated, you can send 1 face-up monster card from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard and negate the activation. And if you do, destroy that card. So we all love when archetypes just randomly get Judgment, and this is a really good Judgment. Like, it spell traps and monster effects, so it's not like some of the counter traps we've got in the past where it's just spells and traps. This stops everything, and you're always going to have stuff in your spell and trap zones because everything just places it there, which means this card is almost always live. We have Centurion Phalanx, which is a normal trap card. You're going to use you're going to use 1 of the first and second effect of this card's name per turn, and only once that turn. You can target 1 face-up monster on the field, banish it, and if you do, special summon it to its owner's field during the standby phase of the next turn. This is a trap card with no condition, which just banishes a monster, so that's exceptional. It's obviously searchable off of Primera, as all the spells and traps are, and the monsters, because this adds cards. And the second effect is you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Centurion Synchro monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and if you do, it loses 1500 attack. So another Reborn in a graveyard effect. Exceptional. You could probably play more of these traps. I think 1-1 is probably where the deck will end up being, because that's how traps in decks like this end up being. But you could probably play more Phalanx if you wanted to. Because Trudea is a Pyro, a level 4 at that, we can play Bonfire, which isn't quite out yet, but it will be out before these cards are. And it simply says, add 1 level 4 or lower Pyro monster from your deck to your hand. So, yeah, this is just reinforcement of the army for Trudea. And Trudea is a 1.5 card combo on its own. Plenty of room for non-engines who are playing 3 copies of Prot of Prosperity, 1 copy of Terraforming to get the field spell, 1 copy of Call by the Grave, 3 Ash, 3 Droll, 3 Effect Veiler, 3 Book of Moon, and 3 There Can Be Only One. You don't have to play this card, but the fact that Primera is a spellcaster, Trudea is a Pyro, and Emmet is a machine means that you can play under this card quite easily. Which is really cool. So, well, is it really cool? It's not really cool. Floodgates shouldn't really be in the game, but if you can play them, you probably should. It's very much like Versus, where you can just completely play under this card if you build your extra deck to do so. The last new card to talk about is Centurion Legatia, which is the archetypal synchro monster. The materials is 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner monster. It's a level 12 with 3500 attack and 2000 defense. It's a light machine. You're going to use the first and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can draw 1 card, then you can destroy the face-up monster your opponent controls with the highest attack, your choice if tied. So the pop is optional, which means you can do the draw effect on turn 1. And because it is when it's special summoned, if you reborn it with the trap card, you're also going to be able to draw a card and pop a card, and that's really, really cool. We have the second effect of this card. Your monsters with 2000 or less attack cannot be destroyed by battle. This is really relevant for protecting your small stuff, but also, if you remember, Phalanx, when it special summons a synchro monster from your graveyard, it loses 1500 attack, which puts Legatia at 2000 attack, which means it actually protects itself if it's reborn, which is really good. Like, really good. The fact that you can just special summon a guy back and it can't be destroyed by battle, and it's a pop, and it's a draw, is exceptional. The third effect is, during each end phase, you can place 1 non-synchro Centurion monster from your hand or graveyard face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous trap, which means every single end phase you're getting one of these guys back who's going to be able to summon themselves on your opponent's turn to plus even more. For the rest of the extra deck, we're playing the 1 Crimson Dragon and the 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity because At this point, these cards are legal, so we might as well talk about the implications of these cards in the format that we're in now. Whether this card will be legal when this deck comes out, I really hope not, but at this point, we have to assume it will be. One copy of Omega, one copy of Geomathmech Final Sigma. This deck makes 12s really easily, and this is just towers. One Borreload Savage Dragon, one Despian Lulu Wellif. I'm not very good with names. This card is important because it needs a level 4 tuner and non-tuner monsters, which means you could make it with Primera. And this also has the effect that if a monster leaves an extra deck, you can target a monster in the field and negate its effects. And during the end phase, if this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon a light spellcaster monster from your hand or deck whose attack equals its own defense, which is what Centurion Primera is. So you can summon this card, and if it's in the graveyard, you get to summon this out, and you get to search, and you get to keep going and going and going, which is really cool. This might be what the deck ends up going into if Calamities gets banned. We're playing one Pep and one Shooting Riser Dragon. I was really just trying to put cards in the extra deck to fill it out. Peps and other towers, and Shooting Riser Dragon can help you get into your other synchro players. One Zeus and one Baguska, one Donna, one Unicorn, and one Access Code Talker. So that's the list, that's what all the cards do, but we do have 3 combos to show you. All of them are pretty much exactly the same. So we're going to start with Primera plus a discard. If we can find the next play button. So we're going to start by normal summoning this Primera and adding the field spell with its effect. We can then add the field spell, activate the field spell, discarding our discard in hand, and we can special summon Trudea from the deck. From here, we can use Trudea's effect to special summon itself from the Spell and Trap Zone, and then Trudea's effect on field to put it back in the Spell and Trap Zone, and place a copy of Emmet from the Spell and Trap Zone, from the deck into the Spell and Trap Zone. We can then use Emmet's effect to special summon itself, and immediately synchro for a level 12, and that is our Legacia. This is going to allow our Legacia to activate its effect to draw a card, and then we can use the effect in the end phase to place a copy of Primera into the Spell and Trap Zone, which is going to allow us to use the field spell on our opponent's turn. Something to note here is we have summoned 4 times, so we cannot be nibbed in this combo because all we've summoned is Primera, Trudea, Emmet, and the Synchro. So only 4 summons, can't be nibbed. And then in our opponent's main phase, we can activate the effects of Trudea and Primera. We could do this in the same chain, or we could do it in separate chains, depending on how you want to do it. And we can special summon the Trudea and special summon the Primera. From here, we can activate Primera's effect as Chenic 1 and the field spell as Chenic 2, which is going to allow us to synchro summon. So we are going to synchro summon our Trudea and our Primera into a copy of Crimson Dragon. Remember, the Trudea can increase its level by 4 when you special summon it. This will summon the Crimson Dragon, and then we can resolve Primera's effect, which will allow us to add any Centurion card from our deck to our hand. On resolution, we can then use the effect of the Crimson Dragon, targeting our copy of Legacia, and we can go into a copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, or King Calamity, whatever this card's called, and use the effect to Azathoth our opponent. It's worth noting here that once we get to our opponent's end phase, if they pass to this, we can use the Legacia effect again to place any of these cards into the Spell and Trap Zone, like Primera, and special summon a Minato and get another search, which is really cool. The next combo is Trudea plus Call by the Grave, plus a discard, and this is going to do the exact same combo we just did. So this is going to be Trudea, it's going to use its effect, it's going to place itself and Primera into the Spell and Trap Zone this time, and then we're going to use Primera to special summon itself, and then we are going to add a copy of Stand Up Centurion. From here, we can activate the field spell, discard our card in hand, and place Emmet into the Spell and Trap Zone. We can use Emmet to special summon itself, and then immediately synchro into a copy of Legacia. This is going to allow us to draw a card. Then in the end phase, we're going to get to place that copy of Primera into the Spell and Trap Zone. Again, that was 4 summons, not 5, can't be nibbed. In our opponent's turn, we're going to use the Trudea and the Primera to special summon themselves. Primera Chenic 1, field spell Chenic 2. I've resolved it backwards here, but who cares? We're going to synchro off our monsters into the Crimson Dragon, and again, we get to use the effect, targeting our Legacia, and summon the copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity, and use the effect. And again, in our opponent's end phase, we're going to be able to get back this copy of Primera to get another search on our opponent's turn and go for lethal. The third combo is just the field spell plus a discard. This also does the combo. So we're going to start by activating the field spell and using it to discard our card in hand and special summon a copy of Primera. Well, not special summon, place it in the Spell and Trap Zone, and then use the effect in the Spell and Trap Zone to special summon. This is going to allow us to search for a copy of Trudea, which we can then normal summon. This will allow us to use Trudea's effect to place it in the Spell and Trap Zone, grab our Emmet, and then special summon our Emmet, and immediately synchro summon into a copy of Legacia. This is going to allow us to draw a card. in the end phase, we'll get our monster back from the graveyard. And then in our opponent's main phase, we'll special summon them both again. We'll use the Primera effect to search, and the field spell to quick synchro. We're not going to use a Tradea effect, I just misclicked Send to Grave. We're going to synchro summon into a copy of Crimson Dragon, add our Faith of Centurion, and then on resolution, we could use the Crimson Dragon targeting the Legacia to special summon a copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, as for our opponent, and again, in the end phase, get back our copy of Primera to go off even further. If that looks quite ridiculous, it's because really it is. You get to play around pretty much every hand trap in the game. The only place you can Ash is on Primera, and if your opponent is going to try and impermanent you, you have workarounds with Emmet to be able to place the card is really strong, and the fact that Bonfire is going to be able to search cards in the archetype as well is absolutely ridiculous. But that is everything I have to talk about this archetype at this current point. At some point, maybe we'll have a look at seeing what this deck can do without King Calamity. I imagine it's still quite a bit you can do with the deck. But until then, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I really would appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. Just interact with the video in general so this video can get out there a little bit more and more people can see our content. So that would be great. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.